Welcome back to the show. Let me take you to Parliament, where the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, is set to decide the fate of 4 MPs whose seats the minority have demanded he declare vacant. Speaker Alban Bagbin, after a fierce debate on Tuesday, indicated his ruling will be delivered today. We are waiting to have that come true. But even ahead of that ruling expected today, some MPs have been sharing their thoughts on the matter at stake. And a memo has been sent to the Speaker's office. The author is a member of Parliament from Prioso, Davis Opoku, and he joins me on the line. Honorable OPK, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse.
Thank you very much, my brother.
So this memo, what exactly are you seeking to achieve with it? Is it something that you intend to be a subject of consideration on the floor, or this is for the Speaker's ears and eyes only?
Well, this is a matter of public discussion, and I think it's important that as a lawmaker, I also make my views known on the subject. I currently am out of town, and I monitored proceedings yesterday, and I realized that most of the discussions that were being raised, most of the issues that were being raised, centered on what our standing order says, and also making reference to a precedent that was set by Right Honorable Professor Michael Quay in the last Parliament. So my memo to the Speaker was to urge the Speaker to vary the position as set forth by the Right Honorable Professor Michael Quay, because for me, I see a clear variation, a clear deviation from the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And it's important that we protect the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. I mean, that is the supreme law of the land. And whatever we do, it's important that we hold it in high esteem. I mean,
you affirm that
yeah.
Speaker Michael Quay I spoke to yesterday, in this memo that you've written to the Speaker, you are convinced that he was wrong in declaring the Formina seat vacant in 2022?
I strongly believe that the Speaker was wrong in declaring the Formina seat vacant. You see, at the heart of this, for me, it's issues of representation. We seem to be taking lightly the struggle, the toil of Ghanaians in queuing to go and vote for somebody as their representative. Now, an MP comes to Parliament, it decides that in a future election, the possibility of him winning, I mean, is not really guaranteed. But it decides that in a future election, I would want to contest on the ticket of, let's say, the MPP or the NDC or as an independent candidate. But as we speak, in this current dispensation, in this Parliament, is representing a group of people on the ticket of a political party.
Right.
For me, if you were to look at Article 97 in its entirety, you clearly, what the Constitution sought to do, what the framers sought to do, was to protect the decision that the Ghanaian people took on December 7th. I mean, they were convinced based on the ideology that the candidate espoused. They were convinced based on the reasoning that the political party gave, and they voted a particular member of Parliament in Parliament. Now, Article 97 G clearly states that it clearly gives a voluntary action. I mean, until the member of Parliament decides that I am resigning, until the member of Parliament decides that he's crossing the aisle, a political party cannot sit somewhere and say that because you have flouted my rules, because you have decided that in the next Parliament, you are going to contest as an independent person and per our rules as a political party. Once you do that, you forfeit your membership of the political party. So we are writing to Parliament to say that, get off. We don't want you anymore. For me, I mean, it defeats the idea of representation. For me, it's something that we all as a people must come together and say that no, we should not give people the opportunity to decide when, especially people have queued, when people have taken a decision that this is a person that we want him to lead us. And once the Constitution is clear about it, no other rule, not the political party's rule, not the standing orders of Parliament, not anybody's opinion should reign supreme over what the Constitution does.
But Davis, Professor Michael Quay's justification is that, I mean, in 2020, the MPP came to see him, and then they followed it up with a formal letter from the General Secretary of the party saying that this member of ours is no longer a member of the party. He's gone, he's gone rogue, and for that reason, he's not here serving our interests. And so you can go ahead and declare the seat vacant. The Speaker says he gave the MP in question opportunity to respond to the allegation against him. And for over 1 week, the MP did not respond. And so he was left with no option than to take that action to declare the seat vacant. He says that the situation we have on our hand now is different because there's no complainant. Even though the Constitution doesn't reference any correspondence that should come from a political party, by convention, by the Parliamentary Act and your standing order, he is clothed with the power to go by that directive and say that based on this directive coming from the party, I can go ahead and effect the change. You say that it is still not right?
Well, for me, I think that Speaker Quay got it wrong. I will not mince words. I mean, for a political party to write to you saying that Mr. OPK has flouted our rules, and because of that, we want you to take him out. It defeats the argument of representation. For Christ's sake, the political party only nominates a candidate for. And it is for that reason why, if there's a by-election somewhere, let's say an MP dies and we are to replace the member of Parliament who has died, the political party is not reaching to bring a nominee or to replace the person. We go back to the people who decide, the Ghanaian people. They take that decision. And that is why we spend lots of monies in going for by-election and ensuring that the people who vote to elect a representative do that, and not the political party. Yes, the political party may have a choice, but the final decision does not lie with the political party. In my constituency, what is the argument that it's only MPP people that voted for me? When you do that, then now people's appreciation. For instance, in this parliament, we saw MPs rising up to say that Ken must go. And they did that with the conviction that it was important to restore some level of confidence in the economy. The MPP now says that, okay, those number of MPs that did Ken must go, we have written to the Speaker of Parliament and we want them out. Then what do we make of parliamentary supremacy? What do we make, the independence of Parliament? Please, it is the Constitution that is protecting the members of Parliament. The tenure of the member of Parliament and its protection come from the 1992 Constitution and not the MPP Constitution and not the standing orders of the Parliament of House.
Okay, you just hold it for me. Let me bring in Dr. Akwesi Amache, and I'll come back to ask you, so what do you want the Speaker to do today as he prepares to deliver his ruling on the fate of the 4 MP? But Dr. Amache is a political scientist. So, Dr. Amache, I mean, observing what is happening keenly, I mean, the argument for and against, depending on where you stand. The position of the minority is that they deserve to go. The majority says that no, the situation is different from what happened in 2020. Clearly, the composition of Parliament is at stake here. That could be a motivation behind who is making what and who is responding to what. But as a political scientist, what, from your understanding, what really is happening and how should this be handled by the Speaker of Parliament?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Actually, it's an interesting debate. But I'd like to believe that the Constitution is clear. One thing is that, one, the issue of protecting the interests of the electorates is there. But then it places emphasis on the vehicle through which one gets to Parliament. You've got to take note of that. You know, it talks about, I'm quoting it, a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election.
Right.
It is so clear. In political science, we call it the mandate model. The mandate that members of Parliament have, in the case of those who operated in the context of political parties, that mandate is given to the party and not necessarily to the individual member of Parliament. That is what the Constitution does. The mandate is not necessarily given to the individual. Otherwise, the individual should be able to cross carpet at any material moment in time.
Right.
Then there wouldn't have been the need for this particular clause. That is the first thing I'm establishing. And then two, that portion is not necessarily looking at the next Parliament. No. Politics essentially emphasizes the what is. And this particular provision is interested in the status of members of Parliament in the current Parliament. That is why a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in the current Parliament if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election. It is not saying anything about what is going to happen tomorrow.
And then, and currently as you speak, yes, and currently as you speak, the members in question are all in Parliament on a ticket of either the MPP or the NDC. So you say what?
Now let's ask this question. We go to the constitution of the MPP and then the NDC and ask ourselves this question. What do these constitutions say about one's ability to stand as a parliamentary candidate on their ticket? Do they allow non-members to do that?
No.
And that is it. The moment you declare, if you go to the Electoral Commission, and Member of Parliament A has filed, as things stand now, to participate in the parliamentary elections on the ticket of any party, it implies that that person has become a member of that party.
Right.
You see,
the standing, please let me learn, the standing of that person in the current Parliament has changed. That person is not necessarily the same person in the vehicle that brought him or her to Parliament. If you came in as an independent candidate, that is the vehicle that brought you. If we go to the Electoral Commission now and we find out that you have filed on the ticket of any other party, your standing in Parliament has changed.
And so?
It has changed. And that is what the Constitution is saying. You vacate your seat.
OPK, you have a response to this? Yes. Honorable, if you can unmute for me.
I said I do have.
Yes, please.
I think first of all, is it okay now?
Yes, please go on. We can hear you.
In the Nata Jima Rollins case, what the Supreme Court said was that the constitution of the land overrides any internal party arrangements. I mean, any internal parliamentary procedures, and it is well established in the NATO case. Two, Professor Martin raises an issue of whether or not if a political party can select a non-member as a parliamentary candidate, and I say yes. And a classical example is what happened in Bimbilla, in the Bimbilla by-election, where Dominic Nitiwo, who was not a member of the MPP, was selected by the party to represent them in the House. If you were to take a critical look at the MPP constitution, what it says is that, I mean, despite all the primaries that we go through, despite all the acrimonious elections that usually happens in MPP, at the end of the day, The National Executive Committee and the National Council of the party are the bodies mandated to select the persons thereof. And so I won in price of primaries in January. But during the selection process and during the submission process to the Electoral Commission, the National Council can decide that no, per our rules or per our research, there's a more popular person who is standing on the ticket of the PNC, and for that matter, we want to go and pick him to contest the ticket of the MPP. It is done. There's no law that bars the political party in doing that. But let us not dwell so much.
But that would make nonsense of the party's own internal arrangement before getting to this stage.
Because in the Zenato case, it rubbishes that. Two, you see, what we are talking about, and we seem not to value and appreciate what representation really does. Today, the people of SAR are crying heavily that they do not have representation in Parliament. People have queued to go and vote for a particular person as their member of Parliament. And now we want to use a political party's rule to judge them. Yes, I agree. But if you look at what the Constitution itself does, you see, and in trying to stick a member of Parliament to the political party on which he or she came into Parliament. I mean, the reasoning is that you came in with an ideology, you came in with a vision, you came in with a particular message, and the Constitution, the people want to hold you responsible. And that is why the Constitution frowns on, during your term of service, during your term as a member of Parliament, you cannot cross carpet. These people, during their term of serving as MPs, have not crossed carpet. The only thing they are doing is that they have given an intention that in the near future, in the 9th Parliament, not in the 8th Parliament, not in the 8th Parliament, in the 9th Parliament, I want to present myself to my people as MPP candidate or as an independent candidate. Now, it beholds on the people to select them and not the political party and not Parliament.
But if so,
to select them to represent.
Opik, are you suggesting that once the person is in Parliament like yourself, you represent the people from Price, so you are saying that the MPP should have no role whatsoever in determining your future, so long as you are a certain member of Parliament?
No, you see,
in terms of how you conduct yourself, in terms of what you do, the party cannot influence any decision of the Speaker regarding you?
No, the party can. The party can, and that is why I belong to the New Patriotic Party. And so when I err in the New Patriotic Party, I need to be punished. But in punishing me for erring, you cannot write to the Speaker to say because OPK has erred, because OPK has gone to insult the presidential candidate, or because OPK has gone to do this, because of that, take him out of Parliament. That one, the party do not have the right to do so. And you see, this argument about because they belong to a political party and they have decided to switch in an election that is coming, we really would want to lock them and curtail their rights. I mean, Article 21, 1E of our Constitution gives us the right to freedom of association. And so today, I have decided that in this 4 years of my tenure as a member of Parliament, I want to dine with the MPP. Now, I really would want to contest again as a member of Parliament. But in doing so, in the next Parliament, I want to come on the ticket or as an independent person. And you are saying that that person do not have the right to do that. Let us not allow political parties that power to influence such decisions.
Why do you think
it is wrong? It's against the Constitution of the land.
And briefly on this before I bring in Dr. Amajo, why do you think the MPP in 2020 took this action? Is it because they have so many members, more than the NDC, and for that reason, a single member going rogue was not going to have any effect on the strength in Parliament? Now they are unable to do so because doing so will land them in the way. It's about principles and about standing for what you believe in. Looks like you are shifting the post.
See, I am surprised and I'm maybe worried. I mean, if you were to talk to people internally, then they would have told you that for me personally, I was against it. I mean, sometimes I believe in sitting down and jojoing and all of that, but it has happened. But for the fact that it has happened, we should not allow this to be a precedent that to be followed by successive parliaments. And that is why I am calling on the Right Honorable Speaker Bagbin to cut it short. I mean, it is wrong. It's against people's representation. It's against people's right of freedom. It's against parliamentary independence and democracy. And it's important that we uphold the constitution of the land, not a constitution of a political party. Because in the Zenato case, the Supreme Court clearly states that the constitution is supreme.
Dr. Amachi.
Yes.
Yes, please. Yeah, please go on. I mean, you've heard the arguments again advanced by OPK.
In the first place,
clearly, the parties should have no role in these matters.
Well, I think the Constitution decides everything. And I don't think it is the party's stance that is playing out here. If there were no provision in the Constitution to this effect, the parties would not be able to, put one into it. So we are not necessarily looking at any party's constitution. I think the interpretation of this thing, eventually will be done by the experts. But at the moment, my understanding is this. One, the Izinatos case does not necessarily apply here. Because when we bring in the constitution of the party, we only try to understand one thing: membership of political parties. Membership of political parties, because the Constitution emphasizes that, one leaving the party of which he was a member. So in trying to establish membership of political parties in respect of the affected individuals, we will only have to follow on the constitution of the parties, what their parties say concerning membership. How do their party's constitution define membership? At this material moment in time, let's take it one after the other. The gentleman who was an independent candidate and is now desiring or has decided to, go into the next elections on the ticket of the MPP. This decision had to be taken ahead of time before the end of the current parliament.
Right.
The decision has been taken now. You go to the EC to find out exactly how he filed his documents. He did so on the ticket of the MPP. What are the implications of this now? So you see, time is the issue. People seem to argue that if this had taken place earlier, then there might have been the need for some action to be taken and then their seats taken away. But because now we have just 2 months to the next elections and the focus appears to be on the next elections, their current standing is immaterial. But that is not what the Constitution is saying. The Constitution is not futuristic on this particular issue. It is not futuristic. It is relating to the current situation. So you ask the question, what are the standings of these people? Do they now come out as members of particular political organizations? Yes. They have taken their this thing and filed on their tickets. Their party members have also indicated to provide support or evidence of support. Their signatures have been collected and presented to the Electoral Commission. If we do these investigations, pieces of information will come out clearly. So looking at it, time should not be a deciding factor, that we have barely 2 months to go, and for that matter, they are looking forward to the next parliament. The focus is not on the current parliament. Because of that, their current standing should not be an issue. So over there, you have if these are accepted into the interpretation, then we have a lot of ambiguities in that particular provision that will have to be looked at.
Right.
Otherwise, as it stands now, it focuses on their current standing. Are they members of particular political parties are they independent members as they stand now? If you say yes, then that's it. Their seats should be, they should vacate their seats.
But currently they are not.
Currently, I like to believe that if they have taken, tickets on other parties, they have taken other parties' tickets. They are members of those parties. If currently they have decided to go independent, and interestingly, both the MPP and the NDC's constitution immediately takes you out the moment you decide to go independent. Automatically, their constitutions take you out. So over there, we don't have any dispute there. Those who have declared to go independent, they have automatically taken themselves out of those parties.
Okay.
Their current standing as individuals in Parliament now is that they are independent. They are not members of the party that brought them into your head.
It is the 8th Parliament we are talking about. The next election is the 9th Parliament. So currently, if I should go to Parliament and I'm addressing the second Deputy Speaker outside his role as second Deputy Speaker, I will obviously address him as the independent member of Parliament for Formena. The same way, if I should address Cynthia Morrison, I'll address her as the MPP member of Parliament for Amenfi East. So clearly, in terms of the 8th Parliament, they will still maintain their portfolio. You say
that is if the 8th Parliament doesn't interpret that, if you like, provision in the Constitution rigidly. That is if the interpretation of changing one's character, moving from the vehicle that brought you into the Parliament and then taking up another one. If he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election. So we can ask the question, have these people left their parties, those who have picked, who have gone independent, have they left their parties? If we answer yes, they have left their parties.
Because clearly you can conclude by saying that they are, in their various constituencies, they are obviously campaigning against the established candidates of the party.
They have left their parties.
So clearly,
the party's constitution automatically take them out. The moment you go independent, the party's constitution automatically take them out.
So what do you want the speaker to do? Dr. Amachi, what do you want the speaker to do?
Sorry?
The
speaker should interpret things in this same manner. I call it a common sense interpretation of that provision.
And take them out?
You see, let me use my understanding of biblical interpretation. It's only when people don't want to be sincere that they try to say that certain things are very difficult. The Bible has said it. There's nothing like that. Things are to be taken on their face value, unless you have ambiguities. I will apply the same common sense approach to the interpretation of the current provision that we are looking at. Simple and straight. Have they left their parties? If you answer yes, period, then that is it. The speaker should act accordingly. Are they still members of their party? If you answer yes, the speaker should act accordingly, period.
And that should be done without the possibility or the room for official complaint from the parties?
I think somebody has triggered this instrument already. The speaker has only got to check with the Electoral Commission to verify the facts. The speaker does not necessarily need to wait for anyone to come and complain and do any such thing. The Constitution doesn't make provision for that. Okay. The Constitution is only interested in their standing as they are in Parliament.
All right.
How did they come in? Are they still in that same situation? Period.
All right. Dr. Kwesi Amachi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I'll go back to OPK. Yes, I'll go back to OPK shortly, but let me take you to Parliament now and get to understand what is happening on the floor. Is the House ready to consider this matter? Koko Asante is our parliamentary correspondent as he joins me via. Koko, is the House in session?
Well, the House hasn't started sitting yet. It's almost 5 o'clock, and this is quite unprecedented because there's been no information as to what exactly is happening. The Speaker of Parliament hasn't come into the chamber at all. You can see behind me a handful of MPs who are engaged in conversations tete-a-tete here and there, but the proceeding itself hasn't commenced. In fact, today, it wasn't built to be a very heavy day, apart from the bills that the House was considering and a number of these key issues that have come up, particularly having to do with these 4 MPs. We expected not much to happen. And in fact, the Speaker of Parliament, we understood, had been in his office and since morning, but he hasn't come here to the conference center where the dome is being used as a makeshift chamber of Parliament. So proceedings hasn't commenced. We have no information what exactly is happening. Very few MPs still on the floor who are still talking among each other, obviously expecting that the Speaker of Parliament will come in and govern the House in session. This is quite also a bit unprecedented because the Speaker has deputies. Ordinarily, the first Deputy Speaker should preside over the House while the Speaker is perhaps busy with other things, but he hasn't come here. The second Deputy Speaker, Andrew Amakrosiama, is also caught up in this legal dispute that is currently raging on, and so cannot be here, obviously, and hasn't been here since the House reconvened from its break for nearly 3 months. So that is the situation here in Parliament. There is no business, nothing happening, no information, no news in terms of what exactly is happening. In fact, as of now, we do not have any indication if the House will even sit at all, or perhaps the information will just come that the House is perhaps adjourning to tomorrow, or the House can also trigger proceedings under the standing orders to appoint someone else to preside, because the new standing orders make provisions for a member presiding. That has not been used in this meeting so far, and as we sit here, we do not have any indication whether or not that is going to happen. So, Elton, that is the situation here. Literally empty on the majority side, a few of them seated. I can see a few NDC MPs as well, Mahama Yaraga and the likes, who are engaged in a conversation. This matter is a big conversation in Parliament today. MPs talking about themselves, expecting that something big is going to happen. An announcement will be made as to whether or not these 4 seats will be declared vacant, or the course of path that the Speaker of Parliament is going to charter. But so far, no news.
But you have been nosing around. I mean, we are picking information that the Speaker may possibly announce that this matter be referred to a special committee for them to further investigate and then report to the House for the necessary, resolution to be made. What exactly are you picking on this matter?
Well, yes, Elton, as of this morning, we had been trying to get some information as to what exactly the Speaker was going to do. And the news coming in is that the Speaker may decide that instead of outrightly declaring these seats vacant, he's going to go the way of the natural justice rule to hear from these persons at least before you pass judgment on them. So we understand the Speaker of Parliament may decide that this must go before a committee. The committee will investigate the fact. Specifically, have these members actually filed for independence? This is something that the Committee of Parliament itself would have to get from the Electoral Commission. And so that will have to be done before Parliament will take a decision. So that is the information I get. I'll say you're right, that the Speaker may decide that, listen, let's start a special committee, let's refer this matter to them, let's give them a very short time to work on these issues that have come up, and then, based on that, the House can take a decision. So, Honorable Pochum very much around, if I can just get something brief from him about the situation in Parliament. Honorable, briefly, not even in terms of the sitting itself, the hearing, but sitting hasn't started. It's almost 5 p.m. What exactly is happening? Leadership, do you have any information?
No, I mean, I don't have any issues. But the Speaker has assured the House that, so I think the Speaker is attending to some meetings. He has some meetings that assignment that he wants to, I think, finish with them before.
But the 2 other deputies are members of the caucus. Joe Wise hasn't been around. Andrew Amakwesiama is not around. What is the situation? Do you have any information on that?
No. But they are well. I know.
This country, okay.
IPD, okay, and I think the second deputy is also around. I don't know whether.
Okay, finally, before I let you go, this is a big matter that is regional. I don't think I can see you, interview you, and let you go without asking you about that. Where do you stand on this? Your colleague OPK is on Joy News right now. He's making a position that the Speaker cannot listen to the minority and declare these seats vacant, and that they need to take a further look at this. Is that a position you agree with? Or you side with the minority that you should go into the minority?
Clearly, the Speaker must take his time, must be able to appreciate the grey areas before making such an announcement. You cannot deny the good people of the process, Abona West, Suzum, Fomena, and Amenfi, etc. They are right to be represented.
Well, Sal hasn't been represented in this Parliament. In 2020, Fomena didn't have representation up until election. So the precedent has been set.
But do we need to continue that? We don't need to. That was wrong.
Yeah.
And we should not entertain. And we must correct such mistakes. And I think it's a time that we think to correct such mistakes.
Right. Thank you very much, Honorable. So that is the situation out in the MPP MP says that the precedent that was set in the past was wrong. He does not believe that. That must be entertained. That must continue. And in their view, just like OPK has said, the Speaker of Parliament must carry slowly in deciding whether or not to declare these seats vacant. Okay.
But the embattled 4 MPs, are they in the chamber? Have you spotted them?
Well, it's 3 days since Parliament resumed from its long break. A number of them have not been here at all. MP for Aguna West, Cynthia Morrison, has not been in Parliament throughout this meeting. In fact, the extraordinary emergency session, she wasn't here. The Andrew Amakwesiama has also not been here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. He hasn't also been here. And then there is Kojo Asante, MP for Swum. He has also not been here since proceedings started. It is only Peter Yakwachiaka who was here last 2 days and yesterday, but has not been here today. Obviously, we expect that he might have been gone back to the constituency because of the situation with Amenfi Central, the NDC candidate having been disqualified, a lot of work downs having to be done there. So today, that was expected to be a judgment day on their political feet. None of them have been on the floor, and you heard me there asking the Member of Parliament what exactly the situation is with Andrew Amakwesiama. Because on days like this, where the Speaker of Parliament is caught up in other business, he would have presided over the House, but he is also not here. So that is the situation, and it's a strong arm the House a little bit. But these 4 MPs, whose fates are hanging in the balance, none of them here, obviously, I'm sure they'll be keeping an ear to the ground. The Speaker of Parliament decide on their fate and decide that based on the precedent set in 2020, the seat should be declared vacant, or he'll give them a hearing by this committee that we are hearing who will set up to do this business, or whatever decision the Speaker may be willing to take on this.
Thank you so much. Kojo Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. We're keeping an eye on this very important matter. We'll take you back to Parliament when the House is in session. It's unclear whether the Speaker will call the House to session or they may call off today's sitting. But whatever it is, there's a decision that must be taken on the floor. The Speaker has a decision to make, and we await the Speaker's decision on this matter. Let me allow Honorable Davis Opoku to wrap us up on this conversation. So, in your final brief, you expect the Speaker to just say the people should continue to do their work as MPs?
Yes, I expect the Speaker to do so. I say this with based on the fact that if you look at Article 97(1)(g) and (h), these articles maintain some level of stability and consistency in parliamentary representation within a single parliamentary term. Now, if you look at the 97(1)(g), it says, leave the party of which they were a member at the time of their election to Parliament to join another party or seek to remain in Parliament as an independent member. This language here clearly refers to actions within the current term of Parliament. And the phrase "seek to remain in Parliament" says it all. So please let us not be so much fixated with what will happen in the future. These are MPs that have been elected by their people to serve them based on a certain message they give them. They are doing so. They have not written any letter to the Speaker to say otherwise. They have not crossed carpet. They have not crossed the aisle. And for me, that should be that. Allow them to do their work, let Parliament function, and let's move on as a country.
Right, 51 days to the election. Thank you very much, Honorable. But you are not in Parliament today.
No, I am out of the country. I'm on a parliamentary assignment, so out of the country. Sure.
The Member of Parliament from Pricing the Eastern Region, Honorable Davis Ansan Opoku, and of course you heard Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng, political scientist with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and of course our parliamentary correspondent Kojo Asante, who tells us the House is still not in session yet. It's unclear what is happening, but the decision, one way or the other, will have to be made by the Speaker of Parliament. We'll take a short break here on the pause and return with more on Joy News.